In Project 2, we're going to take a look at how we can manage workbooks in the Backstage view. And then through that, we'll also open multiple workbooks and copy and move worksheets between workbooks. We're going to begin by looking at the Backstage view. You can do a variety of things in the Backstage view. I'm going to click on the File tab just for a second. But in the recent list that you see here, Excel lists the all the recent workbooks that you've had open. So you can see I've got had a variety of workbooks open. Some of those include the ones that we just did in the previous project, and it lists those out. Typically you have at least 20 of the most recent workbooks listed, and you can quickly, if they're available. Now if I've opened or if I've created a workbook that's on a flash drive that's in my purse or on my desk that I don't have engaged in my systems unit, it's not going to open it. However, if my flash drive's in there, or if I have a workbook that I created on the C drive, if I click on one of these workbooks, it'll immediately open it and I don't have to search for it. The Recent Places area are the folders that I've been to, whether it be on the E drive or my C drive or flash drive, wherever it is. It lists those out on the right hand side as well. Typically, again, about 20 of those will display in the Recent Places. If you want to be able to see a quick list of the most recently created or opened workbooks, that's what the bottom option here is. Quickly access this number of recent workbooks, and you can specify what those are. You can also pin a workbook, and you can see I've done that in a previous sometime previously, but that always keeps that workbook available and on the top so I can quickly get to it. You can also recover any unsaved workbooks. Right now, if I click on that, I don't have any in my unsaved folder, but any workbooks that haven't been saved, they're automatically saved by Excel. Okay. All right. In Project 2A, we're going to first of all manage our workbooks in the Recent tab, Backstage view. And the first thing that they want us to do is to open Here Equipment, and that's found in the Chapter 6 folder. So I need to click on Open, and I'm still going to operate out of the Copy Of folder, and we'll go to the Here Equip workbook. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. They ask me to save it, so I'll go ahead and save it. Still in the same folder. We'll use the same naming mechanisms that we have previously. So I've saved that under the new name. Now they want me to close out of that, and then we're going to open Equipment Usage. Here, Equip Usage workbook. Opened it, work on it, whatever, close it. There is a method to this madness. Alright, and then also we're going to open up Here Backo. Okay, open that one and look at it, all that. We'll be using all three of these workbooks, and we had to open those to kind of go through the exercise so that you could see them in the recently opened workbooks area. So, okay. All three of those workbooks that we opened, we're going to pin those so that they appear as the most recent workbooks, and they'll always stay there no matter what other workbooks that we open. So to pin them, we're going to go to the File tab again, and we're looking at the Recent tab. That's the default tab, and we should see the 4 workbooks that I have open, and the ones that we're going to pin, the first one is going to be the one that I renamed. So the pinning is right here on the right, and I'm just going to click on that. Notice it puts it at the top here, and it also looks like the push pin is turned blue. The Equipment Usage is another one that we're going to pin, so I'm going to click on that. That again takes it to the top, puts a push pin in it, makes it blue. The other method of pinning too is for the backhoe, they want it pinned, but you could right click on that and choose pin to list. And that again adds it to the pinning. Down at the bottom, if you'll notice, we mentioned this previously, the quickly access this number of recent workbooks. If you click on the checkbox, it automatically puts in 4 there. And you should see the 4 that we've just looked at. Not just those 3, but also the 4th one at the bottom there. And I didn't want to get out of there. What that'll do is if you look under the close button, you should be able to see the pinned, wow, I am so sorry, the pinned options underneath the close button. To see the advantage of having those listed here as well as under the recent option, and I mentioned this before, when you click on these it automatically opens those. So if I click on EL62, it'll automatically take me to that workbook pretty quickly. The next section of Project 2, we're going to take a look at how we can manage our worksheets. You can move or copy worksheets within the same workbook, okay, within the same workbook, or to a different workbook. The only thing you kind of want to watch out for here is that when you move sheets that have calculations in them, you're going to be careful with that, because when you move them to a different worksheet, they can then become inaccurate. So be very careful with that, with the moving process. Make sure that you've covered your bases as to the references that are used in those formulas or functions. In Project 2B, we are going to copy some worksheets within a workbook. I currently have the workbook EL1 Chapter 6 P2 Here Equipment open, and we're also going to open, let's see what else I've got open, the Here Equip usage. So I've got this one open too. I want to close out of that, and we're going to open the Here Equip usage. Alright, now in the Here Equip usage, okay, in that workbook, notice we've got 3 sheets within that. They've all been named, which is nice, but you can see there first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, the hours that have been applied to each of these areas. So we're kind of familiar with the worksheet and the information that's included there. But what we want to do is copy the front loader worksheet, to the workbook, the other workbook here that we have open. Okay, sorry about that. That was my phone. So we're going to take the front loader sheet from the Her Equipment Usage workbook, and we're going to copy it into the previous workbook. I'll show you. We're going to go to this workbook that we named previously, which is, let's see. Okay. So it's the Her Equip, not the Her Equip usage. So I'm going to switch to that. You'll notice that it has 3 sheets in it, but only one of the sheets has information. And what we're going to do is take the front loader sheet from Here Equipment Usage and copy it into the other workbook. So one way to do that is simply right click on the sheet tab that you're wanting to copy. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go to Move or Copy, and in the Move or Copy dialog box you're going to see To Book, which is referring to workbook, and we're in the Her Equipment Usage. It'll list, when I click on the drop down arrow, it'll list the workbooks that I have open. So if I had 5 other workbooks open, they would all be listed here. Okay, you can also put it in a new book as well. As we do this, they want us to move it to the EL6C6P2 Her Equip workbook. So I'm going to click on that. It'll show me the sheets, which I showed you before. There were 3 sheets, but there's only one with information in it. They want us to move this front loader into this workbook and place it right before sheet 2. As we do that, we're creating a copy. If you don't click that checkbox, it'll move it. It'll take it out of this workbook and move it into the new workbook or the other workbook. So we want to create a copy. I'm going to click OK. And now notice we're in the workbook that we just copied it to, and the sheet is located between sheets 1 and sheets 2, which is what we wanted. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the other 2 sheets in the previous workbook. So I'm going to go back to that workbook. We want to take tractor and we're going to copy it again to our EL1 C6P2 here equip workbook. So again, I'm going to right click on that sheet tab, move or copy. Again, we're going into our workbook that we renamed. We're going to place it after front loader but right before sheet 2. Again, we're creating a copy. Click OK. Again, it positions you into where you copied it to. We're going to go back to the other workbook. This time we want forklift. Again, I'm right clicking, choosing move or copy. I'm going to move it right here. We want it to be right after forklift, right before move to end. Create a copy. Oops, I'm so sorry. I need to switch workbooks. I didn't do that. And again, we'll put it right before sheet 2, right after tractor. Create a copy, click OK. So now we have all of these sheets in the new workbook. Probably if you don't have anything in these sheets, you would want to remove those sheets. Again, removing sheets, you just right click, choose delete. So if they're blank, we don't need those in there. Alright, so we've got sheet 1 and then the front loader, tractor, forklift. All those have been moved from another workbook into this workbook. Not moved, they've been copies because they're back in the original workbook. In project 2C, we're going to move a worksheet, just like I mentioned before. We're going to grab it from the Her Baco workbook. There's a sheet in that workbook that we're going to take from it and put it in to this workbook. So we're building this workbook based on 2 other workbooks. So first of all, we need to open the Her Baco workbook. One way to do that is go back to File, and we've got it listed here. I'm going to click on that. That'll immediately open it. Notice sheet 1, that's really the only sheet it has. So in that we're going to right click, move or copy. We're taking sheet 1 from here, but we want to move it to the workbook that we renamed, and we're going to place it we'll place it right here and see what happens. Click OK. Alright, it created a new sheet because I didn't have an extra sheet in there, so that's okay. We're going to rename that, and we'll also rename some of the other sheets as well. Now we're going to go back to the Baco workbook, and notice that sheet is gone. Sheet 1 is gone. It's been moved out of that. They're going to have us close out of that without saving changes, so that if we were to open it back up, that sheet 1 would be there. That leaves us in the renamed workbook. And with that, they ask us to delete sheets 2 and 3, which we've already done. We're going to rename sheet 1. So to rename, one way to do that is just double click inside there, and they want us to name this equipment hours. And then we're going to rename this sheet 1 to Baco. The remaining portion of project 2C has us naming ranges. For example, in the front loader tab, they have us naming B4 through E4 as our front loader hours, and then they're going to use those particular named ranges in formulas in equipment hours, so that we can find the total hours for front loader and also hours in use. We've already done similar processes in previous projects, so I'm going to let you do this on your own, but it gives you a great exercise on naming ranges and then using those named ranges in formulas. And again, I'm on page 212. They start in the naming of ranges and then using those in formulas in project 2C, item number 5. And that continues on to page 213. So please do that on your own for additional practice.